There is something I want you to sit with before I say another word. Not a concept, not a framework. A question, the kind that does not demand an immediate answer, but opens something in you when you hold it with genuine curiosity. Who is it that knows? Not who thinks. Not who plans or reasons or calculates. Who knows? With that particular quality of knowing that arrives without argument, that precedes explanation, that is simply there before you have had a chance to construct it. The knowing that surfaces in a dream and feels more real than waking. The knowing that stirs in your chest when a conversation turns a particular way. The knowing that moves your hand toward one door and away from another, not because you have analyzed the options, but because something beneath analysis is already decided. Who is that? Neville called it the subconscious. He called it imagination. He called it the deeper self, the I am that you are before you add any further description to it. Not the small, calculating, socially conditioned self that manages your daily affairs, but the vast, creative, essentially infinite awareness that underlies all of that. The creative intelligence that built your body from a single cell and has continued operating it without your conscious instruction ever since. The same intelligence that has been, from the beginning, the actual author of every significant change your life has undergone. That self is not silent. It has never been silent. It speaks constantly through every channel available to it in the language it has always used, the language of feeling, image, impulse, and symbol. And most people, most of the time, are not listening. Not because the voice is too quiet, because they have been taught to trust only the surface, the visible, the measurable, the logically defensible. And in doing so, they have closed their attention to the deeper communications that are, in truth, guiding everything that actually matters. Tonight I want to talk about how the deeper self speaks, how it reaches you, how to recognize its language, and how to begin deliberately and with genuine understanding to live in conversation with it rather than in ignorance of it. There is a world operating beneath your conscious awareness, a vast, tireless, creative activity that never pauses and never sleeps. Neville was precise about this. The subconscious mind does not rest. While the conscious mind quiets and sleeps, the deeper intelligence continues its work, processing, arranging, preparing, and constructing the circumstances that will appear in your waking life as the natural expressions of the assumptions you have been holding. This activity is not mechanical in the way a factory is mechanical. It is intelligent. It perceives connections and possibilities that your conscious mind, limited by the small aperture of ordinary attention, cannot see. It knows things about your own nature, your own readiness, your own deepest desires, things that you may not yet have articulated to yourself in conscious thought, and it communicates what it knows, not in the language of logic, though its communications are perfectly logical once understood, in the language of image, of felt sense, of the dream, of the inexplicable impulse, of the synchronicity, so perfectly timed that calling it coincidence would require you to strain against your own intuition. These are not accidents. They are not the mind misfiring. They are the deeper self operating in the medium that is natural to it. The imagination, the feeling life, the symbolic language that consciousness uses when it is speaking from below the surface rather than performing upon it. The question is not whether this communication is happening. It is happening always for everyone. The question is whether you are receiving it, whether you have developed the quality of attention that allows you to recognize it when it arrives. Begin with the experience most people have dismissed as a neurological curiosity. Déjà vu. The uncanny, unmistakable feeling of having been precisely here before, in this conversation, at this intersection, in this exact quality of afternoon light. The recognition so specific and so immediate that it cannot be traced to ordinary memory. What is actually happening in these moments? Neville taught that all experience originates in consciousness before it appears in the physical world. The subconscious, working from the assumptions you carry, constructs your experience in advance of your living it, arranges the circumstances, prepares the encounters, orchestrates the sequences that will bring your inner state into outer form. The conscious mind then walks into what the deeper self has already built, experiencing it as something new. Déjà vu is the rare moment when the membrane between these two processes becomes briefly transparent, when the recognition of the deeper self's prior knowing surfaces into conscious awareness. You feel you have been here before, because in the most operative sense, you have in the imaginative realm where your experience was first formed. But there is something more practically useful here than the explanation. When déjà vu occurs, your deeper self is drawing your attention to this moment specifically. Whatever is happening, whoever is present, whatever is being said or felt, something in this configuration is significant. Not in a vague, mystical way. In the specific sense that the assumption you are holding, the state you are inhabiting, is finding expression in what surrounds you right now. The deeper self is pointing. Look here. Pay attention to this. Do not rush past it. Do not explain it away. Pause. Look around you with genuine curiosity. Something in this moment is teaching you something about the relationship between your inner world and the outer one. Let it speak. There are moments, and I believe everyone reading this has experienced them, whether or not they have found a language for them, when the world arranges itself around your inner life with a precision that cannot be reasonably attributed to chance. You think of a person you have not thought of in months, and within hours they reach you. You are sitting with a question you have not voiced to anyone, and a stranger says, in an entirely different context, precisely the words that answer it. You need a resource, and it appears through a channel you would never have thought to look. These are what Neville called the bridge of incidents, the sequence of events that consciousness arranges between the assumption of a desire and its fulfillment. They are not miracles. They are the operation of a law. When you hold a specific state of consciousness, when you assume something to be true with genuine feeling, the world begins to rearrange itself to confirm that assumption. The subconscious, which is not bounded by ordinary space and time in the way the conscious mind is, begins moving the pieces. And what appears to the conscious mind as coincidence is actually coherence, the outer world catching up to an inner change that preceded it. This means that every meaningful synchronicity in your life is information. It is telling you something about the state you have been holding, the assumption that has been operating at depth. When something arrives with that quality of rightness, of course, that is the deeper self confirming that the assumption has been received and is materializing. It is the world agreeing with what you have accepted as true. The right response to synchronicity is not merely gratitude, though gratitude is appropriate. It is attention, the careful, curious attention of someone learning to read the correspondence between their inner life and its outer expressions. Each synchronicity is a data point. Over time, they reveal the shape of what you have been assuming, and therefore the shape of what is being built. Sleep is not a suspension of consciousness. It is a deepening of it. When the conscious mind withdraws from its ordinary management of affairs, the deeper self continues its work. And during this period, it is less inhibited, less filtered, less constrained by the logic and limitation that the conscious mind imposes in waking hours. The dreams that result are not random noise generated by a resting brain. They are productions of the imagination at its most free, its most instructive, and often its most prophetic. Neville taught that the feeling of a dream is more significant than its literal content. A dream in which you feel genuinely free, genuinely powerful, genuinely loved, regardless of the specific imagery, is the deeper self rehearsing that state, impressing it upon the subconscious, strengthening its reality in the invisible realm where all outer reality originates. Pay attention then, not primarily to the narrative logic of your dreams, but to their emotional texture. What was the dominant feeling? Was it expansive or contracted? Did you wake from it with a sense of something confirmed, something possible, something already true? Or with a sense of threat and limitation? The dreams that carry the feeling of the wish fulfilled, in which you are already the person you desire to be, already living the life you are building, are not compensations for what is absent. They are the deeper self's most direct way of impressing the desired state upon consciousness. Neville was explicit about this, falling asleep in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and carrying that feeling into and through the dream state, is one of the most powerful practices available. There are also dreams that seem to carry information, that show you something in symbolic or even literal form that turns out to be accurate about your waking circumstances. These should be held with thoughtful attention rather than literal interpretation. The subconscious thinks in images and symbols rather than propositions. What does the image feel like? What does it remind you of? What waking situation does the feeling of this dream correspond to? These are the more useful questions than asking what the literal content predicts. You are moving through an ordinary day and something shifts. An emotion arrives without announcement, a sudden expansion of feeling, a wave of something that might be called joy if joy were quieter and more certain than that word usually implies, or an unexpected sadness with no obvious cause, or a surge of confidence that seems disproportionate to your circumstances. What is happening? The subconscious does not operate only during sleep. It operates continuously, and it processes the impressions of your inner life, your sustained assumptions, your habitual imaginal activity, in a way that the conscious mind is not always privy to. These emotional shifts are often moments when the results of that processing surface into conscious awareness. The deeper self has been working, and what you are feeling is the residue of that work reaching the surface. A sudden, inexplicable expansiveness, or often the felt sense of an assumption landing, of a state being accepted at depth. The subconscious has received the impression and confirmed it, and what you feel is the resonance of that acceptance. It is not unrelated to your practice. It is the result of it. Sudden sadness or contraction, arriving without apparent external cause, often marks the surfacing of an old assumption, a limiting belief that has been operating beneath awareness and has been brought to the surface where it can be recognized. This is not punishment, it is information. The deeper self is showing you something that needs to be revised. Something that has been running quietly in the background, shaping experience from below the level of conscious attention. In either case, the appropriate response is the same. Receive it. Do not dismiss it and do not dramatize it. Sit with it, ask what assumption it corresponds to. Let it teach you something about what is operating in your inner life. Because what is operating there is what is building your experience. There are moments when understanding arrives in a different way than ordinary thinking produces it. Not as the conclusion of a sequence of reasoning steps, not as the result of deliberate analysis, as a sudden, complete, fully formed knowing, an idea, a solution, a perception that is simply there, before you can account for where it came from. Neville understood these flashes of insight as the communication of the deeper self surfacing most directly into conscious awareness. The subconscious, which has been processing in its vast, non-linear, symbol-rich way, produces a result and delivers it whole. What you receive is the finished product of a process you were not consciously running. These moments are not to be held lightly. When a genuine insight arrives with that particular quality, complete, clear, and carrying a kind of self-evident rightness that does not require argument, it is the deepest available communication between your conscious mind and the creative intelligence that underlies it. Trust it. Write it down immediately, before the conscious mind begins to edit it. Act on it before doubt has the chance to dismantle it. The people who are most consistently guided, who seem to move through lives with an uncanny ability to be in the right place, to make the right connections, to know what to do when they need to know it, have typically not found a superior source of external information. They have learned to receive the interior one. They have developed the quality of attention that allows the flash of insight to reach them cleanly, without too much interference from the conscious mind's need to check and verify and qualify. Long before the conscious mind has processed an experience, the body has already responded to it. A tightening in the chest in the presence of someone whose intentions are not what they appear to be. A loosening, an opening, when you are moving in the direction of your desire. A feeling of yes that lives somewhere in the solar plexus, below the reach of explanation. A feeling of no that is equally pre-verbal, equally reliable, and equally easy to override with reasoning if you are not paying attention. The body is not a separate system from the consciousness that creates your experience. It is one of the most sensitive instruments that consciousness operates. It responds to the deeper reality of a situation, to what is actually happening beneath the social surface, beneath the presented appearances, before the conscious mind has had time to construct its interpretation. This is why Neville placed such emphasis on the felt sense of the wish fulfilled. Not the visual image, though that has its place. The body feeling, the physical somatic sense of what it is like to live in the reality of your desire as though it were already true. When the body feels it, the subconscious receives it as real. When the subconscious receives it as real, the law begins to build it. Pay attention to what your body feels in different states, different conversations, different directions of movement. It is not infallible. It can be conditioned by fear in ways that require discernment, but it is honest in a way that the reasoning mind, which is capable of rationalization without limit, often is not. The body responds to the actual state of things. The conscious mind responds to its story about the state of things. Learn the difference. Learn to feel what your body is telling you before your mind has had the chance to translate it into something more comfortable. There is a quality of attention that the universe seems to reward, or rather, that the deeper self develops in those who are genuinely listening, which I can only describe as noticing the noticing. You observe that a particular word, image, or situation keeps surfacing. Not that it has never surfaced before, but that you keep being drawn to it, that your attention keeps returning to it, that it appears in different contexts and through different channels with a persistence that feels significant. In Neville's framework, this is often the subconscious communicating through the available symbols of your personal experience, using the imagery, language, and references that carry meaning for you, specifically because the deeper self knows your interior landscape better than any external system of symbol interpretation could. The question to ask when something recurs with this quality of persistent, arresting significance is not what does this mean universally, but what does this remind me of? What waking situation in my life does the feeling of this correspond to? What assumption am I currently holding that this symbol might be confirming or questioning? You are, in a real sense, always communicating with yourself. The messages that appear to come from outside, through books that fall open to the right page, through strangers who say exactly what you needed to hear, through songs that arrive at the moment of a specific question, our consciousness working through the available material of your world to reach you. The deeper self uses everything. It is not limited to the channels of formal communication. It uses the texture of ordinary experience, the way a skilled composer uses every instrument in the orchestra, each with its particular timbre, each contributing to a whole that the surface mind, listening only to individual notes, cannot always hear. And then there is the deepest channel of all. Beneath the ordinary mental chatter, beneath the running commentary, the plans, the rehearsals, the social calculations, there is a quieter voice. Not louder than the surface noise, but different in quality, more settled, less urgent, carrying a certainty that does not announce itself loudly, but that is simply there, the way a stone at the bottom of a clear pool is simply there. This is what most people call intuition, and most people are not entirely sure whether it is trustworthy. They have been taught to privilege the reasoning mind, to demand justification before acting, to treat the quiet inner knowing as a feeling to be checked against logic, rather than a knowing to be trusted on its own terms. But Neville was clear. This quiet inner voice is the most direct available expression of the deeper self speaking to the conscious mind. It is not infallible. The capacity for self-deception is real and must be guarded against. But it carries a different quality than either ordinary thought or emotional reaction. It arrives whole and without argument. It does not insist. It simply knows. The development of the ability to hear this voice, to distinguish it from the noise of conditioning and desire and anxiety, is perhaps the single most valuable inner work available to anyone engaged with this teaching. Not because it will tell you things you cannot find out any other way, though sometimes it will. Because learning to hear it means learning to be quiet enough to receive the communication of your own deeper intelligence. And a person in genuine, receptive contact with their own deeper intelligence is not navigating by guesswork. They are navigating by the most accurate guidance available to them. The practices that deepen this conversation are not complicated, but they require something that is increasingly rare: genuine, sustained, unhurried attention. Silence. Not the absence of sound, but the deliberate withdrawal of attention from the surface activity of the mind. Even a few minutes each day of sitting without an agenda, without consuming, without producing, simply being present with what is, opens the channel. The deeper self does not need to shout when you are quiet. The hypnagogic threshold. The moments between waking and sleeping are, as Neville repeatedly emphasized, among the most powerful available for communication with the deeper self. The conscious mind's filtering activity relaxes. The deeper intelligence is accessible. What you bring to those moments, what assumption you carry into sleep, what feeling you inhabit as consciousness, loosens its grip on ordinary reality, passes into the subconscious with unusual directness and depth. Written reflection. There is something in the act of writing freely, without editing, without knowing where the sentence will end when it begins, that invites the deeper self to participate. Many people have had the experience of writing something that surprised them, that seemed to come through rather than from them. This is not metaphorical. The hand moving across the page creates a kind of openness, a receptivity, that allows material from below the conscious surface to arrive. Keep a record of what comes. Read it later with attention to what you did not know you knew. Acting on the impulse. The deeper self learns, through your behavior, whether or not it is worth communicating. When you receive a clear inner prompting and act on it, not blindly, but with trust, you are teaching yourself that you can be relied upon to receive and honor the communication. When you consistently override or ignore the prompting, the channel does not close, but it grows quieter from your end. Act on the subtle signals when they arise, even in small things. This is how the larger communications eventually come through. The revision practice. Neville taught that you can revise your day, can return, in imagination, to a moment that went wrong and replay it as you wish it had gone, until the new version is the one your imagination accepts as real. This is not pretending the past was different. It is recognizing that the past is, in consciousness, still available to be worked with, that the subconscious holds it as a living impression, not a fixed record, and choosing to change the impression. This practice, done regularly, clears the residue of past negative assumptions and replaces them with the impressions that correspond to the life you are building. I want to leave you with this because it is perhaps the most important thing I can say. You have not been disconnected from your deeper self. You have not failed to receive its guidance. You have been receiving it continuously, all your life, in every dream that left a feeling on waking, in every impulse you followed or did not follow, in every moment of knowing that preceded explanation, in every synchronicity that arrived with that specific quality of inevitability. The deeper self has never stopped speaking. You have simply not always been taught to listen. You have been encouraged to trust the surface, the visible, the measurable, the socially validated, over the interior, the symbolic, the pre-verbal. And so you have lived, to a greater or lesser degree, at one remove from the intelligence that is most consistently aligned with your deepest good. The invitation of this teaching is not to acquire a new skill, but to recover an existing one. To come back to the quality of listening that you practiced in some form before you were taught not to. To return to the trust in inner knowing that every very young child possesses, before the culture teaches them to defer to external authority instead. Your deeper self knows you more intimately than any other possible source of guidance. It has been with you from before your first breath. It built you. It has been tending to the architecture of your experience in the invisible realm while you manage the surface. It holds, in a dimension of knowing that the conscious mind cannot fully access, the full scope of what you are capable of and what you are here to do. It has been trying to tell you this all along. Begin tonight to listen, not with straining, not with the anxious grasping attention of someone trying very hard to receive a message, with the easy, open, genuinely curious quality of someone who trusts that the message is already being sent and that their only task is to be still enough to receive it. Because you are, and it is. Good evening. May you carry into sleep tonight the quiet trust of one who knows they are being guided, and may you wake tomorrow with the growing certainty that you have always been in conversation with the wisest voice available to you, your own. This is Neville Lectures. I'll see you again in the next video.